A new Watchdog report is highlighting what went wrong with U.S. reconstruction efforts in Afghanistan. A special inspector general for Afghanistan reconstruction found the U.S. lacked a clear strategy, leaving agencies to adopt new goals on the fly. In addition to relying on poorly trained personnel, the report says billions of dollars were poured into institutions and infrastructure projects that were ultimately unsustainable. It says the government consistently underestimated the amount of time it would take to rebuild the country. The report recommends U.S. agencies explore how to ensure they have the capability and the capacity for reconstruction efforts. BBC Chief International Correspondent Lise Doucette has more on what life looks like in Afghanistan now that the Taliban is assuming control.
The republic has fallen. Its leaders fled. Taliban rule is returning. Day by day, its fighters more visible on the streets of Kabul, patrolling with U.S. military vehicles left behind or lost by government forces, taking on tasks to show they're in charge now and showing the new face of Afghanistan to the world. Today, the first press conference by a man who's long been a mystery, Taliban spokesman Zabihullah Mujahid, showing his face in public for the first time, making their message clear.
There is death in war. We didn't kill for revenge. It just happened because it was war. We were fighting. We have given amnesty to everybody. We want them to give us forgiveness.
And a message for anxious Afghan women too.
There will be nothing against women in our ruling. Our people accept our women or Muslims. They accept Islamic rules. If they continue to live according to Sharia, we will be happy. They will be happy.
Day by day, Afghans come to terms with the Taliban again, waiting not for words, but what will change in their lives.
Let's see what Afghanistan brings. I want to stay here. I want to fight for my students. I want to fight for our vision of Afghanistan. And I know things are never going to be the same anymore. It's just I have to be here.
And so far, some surprises. Female presenters are still fronting popular news programs, a Talib taking her questions. But many fear it's just a shiny new show for now. Women are already taking to the streets. We exist, they shout. Work, education, political participation is our right. Women make up half of Afghan society. Don't upset us, they tell the Taliban. Be our voice. Look at just one snapshot of how many people, Afghans and foreigners, are fleeing as fast as possible. The evacuation from Kabul airport proceeds ever more urgently, including Britain's operations.
There was bound to be a moment of turmoil in that system. I think actually what's really impressive is that in a very, very short period, we've moved forward now into something that looks stable and that we can continue to move on.
The Taliban are promising stability too, and a government that's different this time round. Their words have changed. Many wait to see what they really mean.
For more, let's bring in Christina Ruffini and Leo Shane. Christina is a CBS News correspondent with us from the State Department, and Leo is deputy editor for the Military Times. Welcome to you both. Christina, what is the very latest on the ground at the airport in Kabul?
There is some good news in that today they seem to have been able to get better control of the airport. More flights are going out. About one charter an hour is being able to land. Now, those are mostly military charters. They're still not private charters or commercial flights, but it is promising. The State Department said just a little while ago they're also sending in more staff. They're sending in another ambassador to help with operations on the ground. This is someone who's going to focus solely on the logistics, on the Herculean task ahead of them of getting not only 10,000 Americans out of the country, but up to 40 to 60,000 special immigrant visa applicants. Those are those Afghans, who've helped the Americans over the past 20-year war and who believe they might face retribution from the Taliban. Now, over the past month or so, only about 2,000 of them have managed to clear the process and get on flights to the U.S. What they were looking for was some sort of safe third country to pick up these people and take them to while they finish this paperwork. We've asked, and so far, there's not been an announcement as to where these people are going. However, a bunch of them have come to the U.S. There's about 1,200 at Fort Lee in Virginia, and there's a lot of them trying to get to the airport. The bigger problem right now is getting to the airport, both for Americans and for Afghans. The Taliban has said they will give safe passage to people trying to get there. The State Department says the Taliban told us they'll let them get there safe, but CBS News has heard from multiple people today, both Americans and Afghans, who've been prevented from trying to get to the airport either by Taliban checkpoints or they say the streets are just too dangerous to get there. We asked multiple times if the State Department or the U.S. government would be providing any kind of transportation, any kind of support for people needing to get to the airport, to get on that flight, to get out of the country, and the State Department said we're doing everything we can.
All right. Well, Leo, you reported on congressional leaders planning hearings into the departure of U.S. forces in Afghanistan. What do they hope to learn?
Yeah, a lot of frustration right now on Capitol Hill as they see this unfold. The Biden administration had promised that part of the delay in the withdrawal would be to make sure that things were in a safe and orderly fashion as they pulled troops out. Obviously, that hasn't materialized. So a lot of Republicans are criticizing the Biden administration, saying this was completely bungled. But we're also hearing from Democrats. Senator Jack Reed, who's chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, said he plans on holding hearings to look at the entirety of the problem, the mistakes made by the Biden administration, the mistakes made by the Trump administration in trusting the Taliban. We also heard from Senator Menendez of the Foreign Relations Committee. He's planning hearings in coming weeks. All of these folks just want to look and see what was the issue here, what were the problems, and how do they prevent the same kind of problems from occurring in the future.
Well, Christina, so far the Taliban is saying it will uphold the rights of women and girls. Does the White House actually believe that?
I mean, it comes down to whether you believe the word of a terrorist organization that's just taken a country at the point of a gun. Look, we've asked this question multiple times. We asked it today of State Department spokesperson Ned Price, and he said the State Department and the U.S. government are going to wait and see. They're going to judge the Taliban not by their words, but by their actions and how they conduct themselves over the next months and years to come. But one of my colleagues pointed out, it's not just the future we're looking towards. This group has a 20-year past. And what about what they've done in the past, what they've done in the past few months, atrocities they've committed taking over the country? How does that count against the word of a terrorist organization? And the U.S. said they will look and see what comes our way. Look, the other thing to think about is the Taliban perspective of women's rights is much different than the American perspective of U.S. rights. It's not likely to hold up to that United Nations threshold of human rights. They said they would respect women's rights as they interpreted them under Islam. That's really going to be key. What does that mean? The other thing to look at is there were questions today asking, the State Department has tried to expand the number of Afghans and the different kinds of Afghans who can apply for asylum in the U.S. And one of them is anybody who's going to be, especially targeted or especially pressured or have a horrible, horrible time, be persecuted under the regime. So one of my colleagues asked, well, if you're a woman or a girl, can you just show up at the airport and say, hey, I'm going to be persecuted. Can I get on the plane? And we didn't really get an answer on that point.
Very revealing, that lack of an answer. All right. Well, Leo, a reporter asked National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan whether the government has a plan for U.S. military equipment that had been left behind for Afghan government forces. This was his response. Let's listen to that.
We don't have a complete picture, obviously, of where every article of defense materials has gone, but certainly a fair amount of it has fallen into the hands of the Taliban. And obviously, we don't have a sense that they are going to readily hand it over to us at the airport.
So, Leo, what kind of equipment are we talking about here? And just more broadly, how are all these scenes out of Afghanistan affecting veterans who served in that theater?
Well, on the equipment issue, I mean, we're talking about a very broad range here. You've already seen some pictures of Humvees, of other up-armored vehicles that the Taliban have taken away from the Afghan security forces. Some of the rifles that Taliban leaders were carrying as they came into the presidential palace were American rifles, and seen as a more of a status symbol than the AKs that they typically take. So some of the equipment, that folks have really wondered about, are some of the aircraft, helicopters, things of that sort. Unlikely that Taliban will be able to use those in the same way without the training, but still, the image of the Taliban taking any of this American equipment, billions and billions of dollars of it, and using it for their own purposes is heartbreaking. And we are hearing from veterans who are seeing these scenes, who are seeing the collapse of the government, and are wondering, what the point was of the last 20 years. Why did they lose friends? Why did they lose time? Why did they make the sacrifices there? Right now, a lot of the focus seems more on getting folks out, getting interpreters out, getting NGOs out, fellow folks who they know over there, friends who help them out, getting them to safety. But a lot of the veterans groups I've talked to and a lot of the Veterans Affairs folks I've talked to have said in coming weeks they're really worried about some of the impact of the tragedy and the stress, the frustration coming down on veterans. They're asking veterans to reach out for help, to talk to other folks, to know they're not alone in these feelings, and know there are resources out there to help.